All right, so today we're gonna be making something that's very simple, but it's absolutely delicious. It's really complex in flavor. It doesn't take a long time to make either. We're making a mint pea soup with zesty herb croutons and a lemon crema. This soup is so delicious and it's so easy to make. You've got pops of zest in there, a lot of herb in there, and we're actually gonna back that soup with a little bit of spice. So let's get started. All right. To set it off, we're gonna get started on our stock. The stock takes a little bit of time to develop flavor, so we wanna get that in the pot early. So we're gonna get started by taking our aromatics and our mirepoix, which is the holy trinity. So we have carrots, celery, and onion, the base of our mirepoix. Since this is going into a stock, none of this is gonna be an exact science. All we need are some big chunks of vegetable that can break down inside of some water. So let's get these trimmed up. I'm gonna start by removing any of the ends that are a little bit choppy. I'm going to remove. Now, same with the onion. I'm gonna go ahead and peel it by cutting it in half and then just peeling it, getting rid of that first gritty layer. We have our vegetables that are gonna go into our stock. They're prepped, ready to get started. This is an optional step. I like to peel my vegetables sometimes, or my carrots. You don't really have to do this because, again, it's just going into a stock, but it's good to do this because it'll make a cleaner stock. So we're gonna chop these vegetables into big chunks, just like that. Super easy, don't go crazy. In. This is why this recipe is so fun and so easy. But people will think you spent hours in the kitchen making it. I'm gonna take this end off, the onion. So we're gonna cut our onion into big chunks. That goes in. We've got our 2-to-1 ratio right there. That looks good. All right, so now that we have all our aromatics in there, we're gonna get in with some mint. This is very important for this stock because it's a mint pea soup. Mint works really well with peas. I'm just gonna do one of these and a couple of leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and grab myself 4 cups of water. We're gonna get this on the stove, let it simmer for about 45 minutes, extract all that flavor. While it's extracting flavors, it might reduce down a little bit. If it does reduce down too much, just add more water. It's a stock, it's water-based, not a big deal. Let's get this on the stove. Stock is on the stove right now. That's gonna take some time. By the time we get everything else done, that should be ready to incorporate. Very important note, I have a bowl in the oven. I'm only using 1 bowl for this recipe, but however many bowls you're using, get in the oven, warm around 170 degrees. You wanna serve your soup in a nice hot bowl, because if not, it's gonna cool down real quick. All right, so I'm gonna start by mincing these finely. Everything is going to get pureed at the end, but I always like to practice good knife skills and make sure that I stay consistent. So let me cut that in half. I'm gonna take this and cut the tips off, and then just sneak under that first layer and peel. So take this shallot, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our knife. Simple. And we're gonna run back in like that, long ways. Try to keep your hand flat so you don't cut your fingers. We're gonna go ahead and chop that down. We're gonna get working on our garlic. Take the whole bowl, crush it a little bit. So we're just gonna be using 1 little clove. That's all we need. Now we're just gonna mince right through that. Piece of garlic, just like that. And then just chop right through it. Just go like a madman. The last little thing that we need is this little guy right here. Some of them are spicier than others. This is serrano pepper. So we're gonna go ahead and cut the top off of this, just like that. Take it and very carefully cut it long ways, just like this. Right down the center, opens it up like that. And then I like to take it and then quarter it, just like that. I just take my knife and cut these cores out because those are bitter. Be very careful, don't push towards your hand super quickly and cut yourself. And then all I'm gonna do is take this and I'm gonna roughly, I do want it to break down when we sweat this, even though we are going to be pureeing the overall soup. So we have the things that are gonna be for the base of our soup. Clove of garlic. We have our shallot, probably only gonna use about half of this. Same with this spice over here. Sounds nice and spicy, so I'm probably only gonna use about half of this. We got about 2 tablespoons of this going in, teaspoon or 1 clove of garlic, and then probably about 3 tablespoons of shallot, or I'd say about half a shallot going in. So that's the base for our pea soup. Let's get started on the other elements, which is the lemon crema. All right, so what I have here is some creme fraiche. I'm gonna take this creme fraiche right here. What's going to bring down this creme fraiche is the lemon. That's what's gonna add our liquid. So let's get this cut in half. Take a half a lemon, and we're just gonna squeeze this right in. Yeah, see how it's thinning up really nicely? And I'm gonna add a few pinches of salt in there. Now let's give it a taste. This is perfect. This is gonna complement the minty, zesty, earthy pea soup really well. All I'm gonna do is take this and put this into this bottle so that it can be squeezed on to finish the soup. Now that we have the ingredients prepped for the soup itself, our crema is ready to go on top of the soup at any time. What we're gonna do is actually work on the zesty herb salt that is gonna season those croutons at the end. The more time it has to sit, the more flavors infuse. A little bit of salt here. So what I'm gonna do is get the zest of 2 lemons. I want a lot of zest in this. So just kind of take the lemon. You can zest any way you want. Some people use their thumb and go like this and just kind of pull along and you get those strands. Some people just take it and push it along the zester. Whatever works best for you. I'm personally gonna go ahead and do this method right here. It's important to constantly use your discretion when you're cooking. You don't always need to use the amount of ingredients that something may say. If it looks like it's too much of something, use your discretion. That's what being a cook or a chef is all about. So I'm gonna add the rest of this lemon in. I'm okay with 1 lemon. I think that's more than enough. I'm gonna take my fresh basil here. I've got 2 to 3 big leaves here. Let's get 1 more in here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take them like this and roll them up like a cigar. And I'm gonna do long slices just like this. Then I'm gonna bunch it up like this and just kind of chop through it. Nothing crazy here. Right into that salt. And that's more than enough basil and lemon zest right there. And look how beautiful that salt is. I mean, it just looks delicious already. All right, so our stock has been simmering for about 45 minutes now. Looks really good, you could smell it. Very fragrant, very developed. So now we're just gonna go ahead and strain this out. I'm getting this on about medium heat right now. Pan's nice and hot, so I'm just gonna go with a squeeze of olive oil here. I can smell the oil is getting there, so I'm gonna put the butter in right now, kind of cool it down a little bit. You don't wanna burn or caramelize anything here. All right, so basically now I have a hot pot of butter that's starting to sizzle. We're starting to get to that point where it's close to browning. Taking, like I said, about half that shallot. Just going right in there. We're just sweating that down. Garlic right in. And then about half that pepper right there. And then just give it a swirl. All right, these have sweated down enough. I'm gonna go in with the peas. We've got about 2 cups of peas here. A little over 2 cups actually, but now I'm gonna give these a stir. Remember, no browning. Still at this point, even after we add the peas, we don't want any browning. One of the best things about this recipe is you can just use frozen peas and elevate it into this delicious, complex dish. And people would think, you know, you went and picked the peas yourself. It's so delicious. Now, realistically, you shouldn't add black pepper in there because you don't want that color, but I did it early, so it's not a big deal. But the white pepper is what you really want. Just like 2 pinches. Now I'm gonna go in with the vegetable stock. Since we have about 2 cups of peas here, I'm gonna say with discretion about 2 cups of liquid, maybe 3 cups of liquid goes in here. You can thin it out by adding more liquid later or less, so don't be too cautious about it, but just don't add too much. Right now I'm actually gonna go ahead and add some basil into this. Leaves. This is gonna add that freshness to it, that herbiness, and it also adds a really nice green color to it. And we're just gonna let that go for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll blitz it down and then check the flavors and consistency. But once we've got our soup base done, we'll get our croutons done, and then the whole thing is ready to come together. All right, so we're actually gonna get our bread processed now for our croutons. So I've just got a baguette here. You could probably use any bread for this, but this is a nice firm bread, so I think it holds up well to this. So we're gonna get this cut into big chunks, like 1-inch chunks, big enough that they can kind of stand up in the bowl that we're gonna put them into. I'm putting it in a nice shallow bowl, so about a little bigger than 1 inch will be good. So what I'm gonna do is take this and then cut it into a big inch chunk right there, just like that. Now, I wanna remove this tough exterior. Even though that part is delicious, that's not what we need. We're just gonna remove that. And you gotta be kind of gentle here, not to crush these cubes. I want about 3 that big. So you just wanna end up with a big cube like this, that when we toast it, it could just stand up inside of that soup, and it'll break down and it'll be a nice crunchy element to add to the soup. These trimmings on the side over here, you can actually save these and make breadcrumbs out of them. Just let them sit out, let them get nice and stale, and whenever you want, blitz them up in a food processor and you got yourself breadcrumbs. So I'm just gonna make probably about 2 to 3 more of these, that's all I need, but you make as many as you need, about 3 per person. Now I know these look very rustic, and that's okay. That's kind of what we want. It doesn't have to look super presentable. Honestly, when something is rustic in a soup like this, it makes it look better because it speaks to the nature of what you're eating and it makes you more in touch with it. So I like the way these look. I'm gonna go ahead and get these toasted up right before the soup is done. And then we're gonna go ahead and take our herb salt right here and just sprinkle these with that delicious herb salt. All right, so now this has been simmering for about 5 minutes. I'm actually gonna go ahead and take this food processor here and I'm gonna set the throttle control to about midway and get right in there. Now that I've got most of the leg work done, I'm gonna crank it up to maximum speed and finish it off. All right, so the soup is at the perfect consistency now. It looks beautiful. I'm just gonna put this on the back on low. This is like ideal consistency for the soup. This is absolutely perfect. When I finish this off, I'm gonna need the smallest dash of cream. That's just to lighten the color a little bit. That's more purely aesthetic, but the flavor, consistency, everything about this is so delicious. So let's go ahead and get the croutons finished up and serve up this soup. I'm gonna leave this on low on the back. All right, so the next step is to get these croutons nice and crispy. There's a little bit of an art form to this. We're basically gonna deep fry these in butter. The trick is to get the butter nice and frothy to that perfect temperature where you're actually crisping them and they're not just sitting there and sopping up a bunch of butter. You also don't want the butter to burn. So just take your time with this step and it'll come out great. So what we're gonna do is put a small amount of oil in the bottom, just because it has a higher burning temperature. And then we're gonna go in with our butter, just about 3 ounces of butter, piece of foil. So you see how it's getting to that frothy, that's what you want, how it's like bubbly and frothy. That means that it's at the perfect temperature. All right, I'm going in. Dude, we're just gonna kind of let these toast in that. I'm gonna give these a turn. The trick is to get every side crispy. All right, now I'm gonna pull these off. They are nice and crispy, and I'm going onto either a paper towel or a grate like I'm going onto here. While these are nice and hot, we're gonna take this salt that we have here. Just kinda all right, and now just let those kind of sit and absorb all that goodness. And now we finish off the soup. So I put it back on the heat. Now at this stage right here, I'm gonna add in a little bit of heavy cream. Be very careful that you do not boil it once you add the heavy cream in because it will curdle. So just add a little bit in, stir it, and serve it. I did about 2 tablespoons there. Look how light and beautiful that color is. All right, so I have a piping hot bowl right here. I say piping hot, it's not ridiculously hot where you're gonna burn your hand, but it's probably about 140 degrees. So we're gonna start by putting our soup in here. Put a layer of soup right in the bottom there. Next, our croutons. One right there. Another one there. Another one there. We're gonna take this, go off to the side first if you're unsure if it's gonna squeeze properly. And then you can finish with a mint leaf right in the center. And that's it. All right, so here we have it. Our mint pea soup with zesty herb croutons and a lemon crema. Absolutely delicious. It came out so good. I love the presentation on this. Swirly, it's a little bit whimsical and rustic. So let's go ahead and give it a taste. So I'm gonna go ahead and taste the soup itself first. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I make that reaction. That is the reaction to this soup. It is so good. Oh my gosh. That lemon crema really comes through. Just that little bit of zap. It's not overpowering. You're not just getting a bunch of lemon in your face, but you get all of that. It's backed by that basil and that mint. Really, really, really delicious. Let's break into this crouton and see how it all works together. I'm just gonna go ahead and get half that crouton right there. Just eat that whole thing. Instant zap of flavor. I mean, that zest and that basil, a lot of salt on there, but it doesn't taste salty because the inside of that bread is bland. So it's just the right amount of salt, a little bit crunchy, and it works so well with the soup. You have everything in here. You got a little bit of acid, got a slight sweetness and tanginess from that lemon crema. You've got inside of the soup itself on top of the croutons. I mean, everything you can ask for, and it's all balanced out by those earthy peas. That's the base for that soup. Absolutely delicious, and I hope you have a great time recreating it.